You are listening to Standard Soapbox. Hey,
Howdy.
how's it
What's
going?
up? Just hanging out. You ready to do this soapbox podcast, buddy?
Yeah, I'm feeling all excited. We got some interesting topics lined up.
Excellent. Let's get it.
Okay. And then so before we start the show, I did want to mention that the podcast was censored for the first episode. The version that will end up on RSS feeds later on won't be. And similarly, the future episodes that we're going to release won't be either. In future, if you want to see a censored version of the show, keep an eye on Twitter. We'll announce where you can see that, and we'll announce where you can find that on the next, and in the introduction of the next show.
Yep.
Sound good? Okay,
Sounds good to me.
let's get into this.
Let's do it.
We are discussing the non-repeal of the Affordable Care Act that occurred recently.
Pretty big deal right out there in Washington and all around the nation. A lot of people are not happy with Obamacare. So they're trying to do what they can to repeal it, but unfortunately, they just didn't have the votes to do that. So round two goes to Obamacare again. Hopefully they try and eventually can either get rid of either some or all of this Obamacare, because there's parts of it that work really well and other parts that don't work so well.
Yeah, well, it's like, so they tried like 3 times to repeal it just in the recent past since Trump's inauguration. Because they tried the kind of initial, the repeal and replace, where they were gonna, put in place a replacement bill. And from what I've read of the proposed replacement, and I'm not going to get into the weeds with that one, but it wasn't exactly a great alternative.
No.
Like, it was probably, I wouldn't necessarily say worse, but at least as bad.
Yeah, but I mean, it at least had one of the things I want, because I've been affected by it, and it's pretty bullshit. And in my opinion, it's a little bit unconstitutional. I shouldn't be forced to have health insurance. If I want to live a life without health insurance and something happens to me, and say it's a life-threatening illness, who cares? Let me die. That's the way I see it. I
Yeah,
shouldn't be forced to have insurance, and then if I don't, they fine me on my taxes. I don't agree with that, and it's bullshit.
yeah,
Because if I can't afford to pay the premiums for health insurance, what makes you think I'm going to be able to afford to pay that fine that you're going to smack on top of my taxes?
yeah. If anything, it seems like it'd be disadvantageous towards the poor and the sort of people this is supposed to be trying to help to begin with. And I understand the idea, like, oh, well, like, let's make it super affordable. It's like, yeah, no, some people just literally can't afford it still. Even, like, no matter what you do, unless you make it free, there's going to be people
Oh,
that
yeah.
can't afford it. And you're just going to screw those people over, like, hardcore.
Yep.
And,
That's where we're at.
and I don't like the idea of the individual mandate, which is this requirement. It does kind of seem unconstitutional, and if nothing else, it at least infringes on my freedoms in a way that I don't like. Like, I don't like the idea that, oh, well, because I have a heartbeat, I have to pay the government, or, pay a
Right.
system that the government's, like, that seems really, like, this is where, like, me and, like, the libertarians would probably agree quite a bit, because I don't like the idea of government regulation being so, I don't know, just like,
So
well,
totalitarianism, like their fees and stuff.
it's like the concept of being taxed for just being
Not having
alive,
something.
and yeah, and
Yeah.
not having something. It's like, that's retarded.
I mean, it's like, I don't know if they still do it or not, but I talked to somebody that went to Paris, France. If you're a tourist over there and you want to use the bathroom, they charge you to use the damn bathroom. It's kind of along the same lines as, oh, you're alive, you got a heartbeat, you're breathing, you live in America, do you have insurance? No, okay, pay the tax.
Well,
It's kind of
it's
along the same lines. It's something that you don't necessarily need insurance, but let's look at it this way. If somebody came into my house and they're like, "Hey, can I use the bathroom?" Yeah, that'll be $5. Okay, you're going to charge me for doing a bodily function that I can't help.
Well, but
So
like,
it's kind of bullshit.
I feel like that'd be more of an argument for providing healthcare for free, but I don't, necessarily subscribe to that idea. I just think that, like, for example, it would be more akin to if I came over to your house and you're like, yeah, no, you have to use the bathroom and I'm going to charge you for it. And if you don't, I'm going to charge you for not using it. And I don't care if you have to use the bathroom or not.
Yep. You'd be like, well, now I'm imposing a fee because you just came into my house.
Yeah.
Whether or not you use the bathroom or not.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't like that kind of, like, fee being levied against me.
I mean, when you think about it, what was the reason for this country being founded on? We went to war with Great Britain because they were unfairly taxing us.
Mm-hmm.
And now you fast forward it to our current time and they're taxing us for crap like not having insurance or things of this nature. Well, it's going back to the way it was when Great Britain was taking over us, but it's their own damn government that's doing it.
Yeah, well, like, the important distinction with the American Revolution and current days is that we still at least technically have representation, which is, like, the whole reason that we, through this revolution was because we were being taxed, but we weren't being given proper representation in, I think, Parliament.
Yes and no, but you also got you've got Republicans and Democrats on both sides that are like, oh, well, I've got a problem with this individual that's in this elected office, so I'm going to use my votes to derail his agenda and what he wants to have done, which is, in my opinion, not exactly representing the people. It's having a petty problem.
But my point is that my point is that technically we have representation, right? Like, we can elect people into public office. The problem is, for a variety of reasons, and I'm sure we'll eventually get into it, but for a variety of reasons, that representation doesn't necessarily mean that we can, get laws put in place that would actually help the people.
Mm-hmm.
And corporate influence is strong in the government right now. Not a fan, but...
Yeah. Lobbyism needs to go bye-bye. It's needed to go for a long, long time.
Yeah. But that said, so the repeal and replace did not go through. And so then they turned around and they tried a partial repeal. And
that also didn't
go through. And then after that, they tried the skinny repeal. And the skinny repeal was like, basically, oh, well, let's just take away, like, the individual mandate and, like, a few other things. And I'm gonna be real level with you. The skinny repeal is the kind of the best of both worlds for me, because it keeps a lot of things that I do like about Obamacare, but it gets rid of, like, the handful of things that I really don't like the individual mandate.
Yep.
And so it's like that would have satisfied. That would have been, again, the best of both worlds.
That would have satisfied me as well, because it's like, I shouldn't be forced to have health insurance. I really shouldn't.
Yeah. But that said, I don't mind the health insurance being made more affordable. I don't, care if we offer, the marketplace for it or whatever. It's just that I just don't want to be taxed for not having health care, because that seems like it seems like...
Don't punish me for something that, if I go through the marketplace and they tell me that it's like $250 a month.
Yeah, no, it feels like either highway robbery or like some kind of protection racket.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a good idea. I'm kind of sad that the skinny repeal didn't go through, but at the same time, I'm also more or less happy about the fact the repeal and the replace didn't go through, because I was not looking forward to the replacement bill that was being pushed. Because while it got rid of some problems, it had its
ups and it had
Yeah, no, it had its ups and its downs.
a lot more downs.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas I don't like Obamacare for certain reasons,
Well,
and
and again, like the individual mandate's like the reason, and so it's like the
you
skinny
know,
repeal would have been the best situation because then
yeah,
we wouldn't have had the individual mandate, and then Obamacare would be fine. Like I wouldn't have any real complaints about it. Like
right,
I'm sure there's some things that if I like read up more on it, I'd be aware of and be like, oh, like I don't like this either. But the one that I'm keenly aware of is that individual mandate. If that went away, I would be pleased.
yeah. I would
And
be too. And then at that point, I was like, "You guys want your Obamacare? You can have it because I'm
hmm
not getting fined for not having insurance."
exactly.
I mean,
Well,
right now I have insurance because I work for an employer that offers it, and
hmm
it's not the greatest out of my paychecks every 2 weeks, but it's not breaking the bank either. So I have insurance right now, so it's not really affecting me, but it is affecting a lot of other people that
hmm
choose not to want to have that,
well,
and it's not right.
I just gotta say, I'm so glad that I'm under 26 right now.
Yeah,
And
because you can still be on your parents' insurance.
yeah, that's pretty nice. And I definitely, if they ever do like repeal any aspect of Obamacare, please don't repeal the don't repeal the you can be on your parents' insurance till 26.
Well, they were saying that that was going to stay. That was one of
Yeah,
the things that they were going to keep.
yeah, and one that's like a good one because it gives like children who leave their parents' home like a chance to get on their feet before they have to worry about health insurance.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and I was okay with that. I mean, it's
yeah,
like, yeah, you mean you can have the 26-year-old still be on their mom and dad's health insurance or whatever you have or
yeah.
things like that. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that because healthcare sucks. It's fucking expensive.
Well,
And even
it's
if you have
expensive.
insurance, it's still expensive.
Well, and honestly, I like the idea of like these emergency healthcare plans, where rather than like providing you with general healthcare, what they do is they provide you with healthcare for like the absolute emergencies, and they're
Hmm.
supposed to be like real cheap, like it's like $6 a month or something like that. And the idea is that you pay into the system normally, and the only
Yep.
time where you get money back from it is if you get like cancer or like something that would be like life threatening and also really expensive, right? Like an
Hmm.
absolute emergency. And it's like that I'm okay with because those are the situations where it's like, yeah, I really like want to make sure that I have healthcare, but it's like for the average everyday things, it's like, yeah, you know what? Like if it ends up balancing out and making my stuff cheaper, that's nice, but I can survive having to pay like however much for an inhaler,
Right.
like it I don't mind paying the full price of what something's worth if I don't have to pay into the normal insurance. If that would bring it down to like $6 a month, and then I was
Right.
covered for the serious emergencies, I would be fine with that. And so I think more focus should be put onto those because because when people bring up the concern with healthcare, they mention like, oh, well, what if somebody gets cancer? It's like, well, this plan would help with that, and it would be way cheaper. And it would honestly be something that if you wanted to provide this like universally to everybody, like free of charge, like you
Right.
raise taxes for it, obviously, but you provide it free of charge, it's like, yeah, I'd be okay with that. Because then, like, the people that really desperately would need it would be the people who get cancer or the people that get like some life threatening, debilitating disease that is really expensive to fix.
Right.
So that's my opinion on this whole non-repeal of Obamacare.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like it. I mean, I don't care for Obamacare, but that's only because of the individual mandate. If they could
Yeah,
find a way or find some common ground to get rid of that, I wouldn't care.
yeah. Well, and it's
Like that.
like if the individual mandate goes, Obamacare can stay because most of it's okay. I now, mind you, I didn't really like how they got it passed because like you had people like Nancy Pelosi saying like, "Oh, don't read what's in it, just
Oh,
pass it."
yeah, don't. It's like, No, her exact words were, "We don't know what's in this. We have to pass this thing just to understand what's in it." And I was like, "Really?"
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was like, "How are you an elected official? Do you
I
not
know,
read
right?
half the shit you vote on?"
She is
That's
like,
scary to me.
she's like actually like one of my least favorite politicians.
She's fucking. She's fucking.
Corrupt.
I wouldn't say corrupt. She's just not fit for office, in my opinion.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, I guess it depends on how you define corrupt, but yeah, she's definitely not somebody that I would ever vote for.
She's not somebody, and isn't she from Nevada or something?
I don't know
I
where
think
she's
she's from
from,
Nevada.
but like
She's either from Nevada or California.
I
But
honestly
according
trust
to if I
her.
was a voter in that state, she wouldn't be
Uh-huh.
getting a vote.
Yeah, no, it honestly, I trust her less than I trust Hillary Clinton, and that's saying a lot. I really don't trust Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, don't get me started on what the hell is his name. His last name's so Reed. I think he's from Nevada.
Reed?
Yeah, like Senator Reed or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't really like him either.
Yeah. I'm honestly not a huge fan of most of the people in Congress. Is Rand Paul still in office somewhere? He's pretty chill. He's about it
Rand
though.
Paul.
Yeah.
Well, when in doubt, let's find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a senator from Kentucky.
Haha.
He's
Yeah.
still in there.
That's
In
good to
fact, I
hear.
think he actually ran for president in the
Yeah.
primaries for
Yeah, no.
Republican.
Yeah, he was the one that I would have voted for if he had survived long enough for me to actually vote for him. Because I think I didn't really vote in the primaries anyways though, so I don't know, but I promise you if he had been on the ballot, I would have voted for him. Even over Gary Johnson, you know?
Yeah. I would have, if the guy I like, he didn't run for president. I like Trey Gowdy
Yeah?
because he's a no nonsense, takes shit from nobody, pulls no punches type of politician, and I like that. So
Okay. Well, you heard it here, guys. That's our take on the non-repeal of the Affordable Care Act. Okay, so this next topic is nowhere near as fun to talk about as the last one. We're obviously a bit late to, bring this up. Everyone else has already shared this, but John McCain was recently diagnosed with brain cancer, and so
yeah,
we just wanted to touch on this and kind of give him our condolences, and we hope that he soldiers on through and survives as long as he can. Because from what I hear, the kind of brain cancer that he has is like if they're able to even get rid of it, it's pretty much guaranteed to like come back.
yeah. Cancer in any form just sucks
Yeah,
because I've lost quite a few family members, one of them recently, due to complications of cancer, and it just sucks. It
yeah.
really sucks.
Well, like my grandmother was recently diagnosed with cancer, and that has obviously not been fun to deal with. So
Yeah, I mean, while I don't necessarily like some of his voting
like some of his
things
policy or
recently,
yeah,
like some of the things that he's been doing recently, especially with the Affordable Care Act, it's not okay when you have people coming out, oh, he didn't vote the way I wanted to, so I'm glad he's got cancer and he's gonna die. That's
yeah,
not okay. That's not cool.
yeah.
I mean, this is a
It's
human being and an elected official, and yeah,
yeah,
he's got this shit and it could kill him. I mean,
yeah,
it sucks.
yeah. It's always unfortunate to see people like the way that people politicize almost everything these days is kind of almost sickening.
It's like there's a place and there's a time for politics, and when it
Hmm.
comes to somebody's health, something as grave as cancer, which could kill somebody,
Well,
that's not a time for politics.
and especially with the kind that he's got, it's guaranteed to kill him at some point. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something you want to hear about. And obviously everybody dies, but it's like cancer is one of the worst ways you can die.
Well, yeah.
and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemies. So the fact
Cancer
that,
and flesh-eating bacteria are like the two things that I would never want to die from.
yeah, those would be terrible. And then because you've had plenty of people coming out, obviously being just complete in and of themselves cancer towards John McCain. You had fucking Richard Spencer come out and say like, "Oh, I'm glad that he's gonna die." He's like, so he's like so warmongering and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, dude, it's not
Warmongering.
cool.
This is one of the few Republicans that was against the Iraq War.
Hmm.
That's not a warmonger.
Well, but like even then, like even if he was like a warmonger in policy, it's like this is still a person. Like there's a time and a place, and I respect Richard Spencer's right to speak, but this was very tasteless, and I definitely do not condone his having said it.
I agree. And quite honestly, I think they need to start holding people in the media more responsible that if they say something about that against any elected official, they should automatically be let go from their job.
Well, the thing with Richard Spencer is that he doesn't so much. He's not like. Do you know who Richard Spencer is?
I don't know much about the guy, but the fact that he
You're
even
fortunate.
said that he's...
It tells you a lot about someone's character when they use cancer as a way to dig at somebody over like political issues.
That would be like me.
Yeah, no, this guy like
That would be like me saying, "Oh, may the fucking make cancer kill everyone in your family as a get back to somebody." That's not okay. You don't do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and again, like I respect his right to say it, but you have to bear in mind this guy is like an actual like you know how the left will constantly say like, "Oh, everybody that disagrees with us are Nazis." Like this guy's actually like a white nationalist. So again, like but like you could tell that he wasn't a good person just by the fact that he's making fun of somebody because they have cancer. Like finding out like, oh, like he also believes that we should have a white ethno-state. Not too surprising, honestly.
Gee, that's like borderline Nazism.
No, it like the only aspect in which like it differs is that he believes in a peaceful ethnic cleansing. He thinks that we should just
any ethnic cleansing.
I agree with you.
Is Nazi.
Yeah, but that said, the area where it differs is the fact that he doesn't want to gas them. He just wants to send just deport them, and it's like that's still not okay. But at least he's not talking about gassing anyone.
Yet, until he gets more senile in his ways and he starts talking about it. It always happens to people like that.
Well, because like Hitler's initial plan with the Jews wasn't to kill them. His initial plan was to deport them, from what I remember hearing. There was one of his officers that had convinced them that he had to actually genocide them.
Yeah.
So...
But then again, if Hitler had listened to his advisors the entire war, we would all be speaking German.
Yeah.
And I probably wouldn't be here today because I don't fit his master or his description of the superior race, so I would have been killed.
Okay. Yeah. So this next topic is going to be a roller coaster ride from start to finish, my friends. So,
I believe this article actually exists.
Yeah, so I'm reading this from the New York Times, not CNN, never CNN. And this article's the title says it all. Quote, that devious plot to quote zombify unquote Russia, the fidget spinner.
Yeah, he's not kidding, folks. He said fidget spinner.
Yeah, this is amazing. Yeah. So, let's see. So, Moscow, the West in general, and the United States in particular, are hatching all manner of diabolical anti-Russian plots, if reports in the state-controlled news media are to be believed. Yet the latest example of what is being portrayed as American skullduggery might be a stretch. Beware, the so-called fidget spinner, a hand toy that spins, has become a rage in Russia and the United States, particularly among middle school students. And then It continues, perhaps not so harmless, according to one recent report on Russia 24. I don't speak Russian, so I could be mispronouncing that. But suggesting that Russia's opposition parties were trying to lure young supporters and raise money by hawking fidget spinners. So apparently, from what I'm aware, like the Russian media is like actually convinced that fidget spinners are an American plot to undermine the Russian government.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
And
we're so gonna overthrow you with little metal things with ball bearings and spinny thingy-mabobs.
well,
Yeah.
well, and my God, and so the video that brought this to my attention was a video that was done by Sargon of Akkad on his alternate channel. It's called The Thinkery, and I'll post a link to it in the show notes. But basically, I love his freaking. He made this comment, and it just cracked me up. It was the thing with fidget spinners are that they're a bit of a chicken and the egg sort of thing. It's like, does using a fidget spinner make you autistic, or is it that people who are autistic are more likely to use fidget spinners? We just don't know. And so, but this is, oh my God. So here's another quote that the article reads off. There has been an aggressive promotion of so-called fidget spinners among children and teenagers in Russia recently, the agency said in a statement, taking into consideration the anxiety among the community of parents and teachers. Some Russian word that I'm not going to pronounce, in cooperation with child health research institutions, will study the effect fidget spinners are having on children, including the possible negative impact. And so I guess the idea with the fidget spinners is that they're supposed to make like the children that use them like retarded or something, and that would in turn like undermine the Russian government.
Yeah, because retarded kids undermining the government is really most of your worries, right, Russia?
I just like that this is like an actual thing that's like really happening. It almost makes the conspiracy theories about Russia and Trump seem grounded by comparison.
It really does.
This is ridiculous.
It's fucking, it really is. It's freaking comedy gold, I would say, but
Yeah.
Man.
And
it's like, really?
well, and so
I've seen some stupid shit being reported recently about, this or that, but really, fidget spinners fucking taking down Russia, really?
Well, that said, fidget spinners like have become like a weird phenomenon recently. I think it's so dumb.
They are. I mean, they're great for, kids with like ADHD and autism and stuff, which is what they were designed for.
Yeah.
But somebody would be like, I'm gonna start a trend, I'm gonna buy this, people are gonna think it's cool and everybody fucking wants it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's like just the sheer number of like fidget spinners have really blown up, and so I can it almost seems like a conspiracy of some kind, but it really is just capitalism at work.
It really is. Marketing and capitalism, man, they go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. And fidget spinners.
Yeah, fidget spinners. That's all I gotta say about that one.
This whole topic has been a fidget spinner of a topic.
Mm-hmm. I kind of want to go buy one now.
Don't.
I'm not going to.
Yeah, I need you to be coherent for the next episode. I can't have you be over there like spinning away while I'm like trying to talk about something serious.
It would be like the article was right. It took down Russia. I'm not in Russia. Oh no.
We're like talking about like healthcare or some shit. And you're just like over there like, I don't need healthcare. I have my fidget spinner.
That could be like when my co-host here introduced me to Game of Thrones, and I binge watched the whole season in like 2 days.
Yeah, we gotta be.
Is like, dude, dragons.
Yeah,
dragons.
We gotta be very careful with you and fidget spinners. Yeah, I cannot let that happen.
No, don't worry. Fidget spinners are pretty stupid.
Yeah?
I think you would have to worry about me being on my computer over here looking up shoes and losing attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, by the looks of it, Trump has banned transgender people from serving in the United States military. Now, I say it looks like it because apparently people are holding off on actually implementing this until they get recommendations or stuff from other people. I don't fully understand what the holdup is, but I do know that it is being held up. That said, we want to discuss this as though it's going through, because obviously, like, the kinds of aspects that we want to discuss or mention are things that we would want to discuss and mention if it passes through without a hitch. So, getting right into it, the primary arguments that Trump put forward in the tweets that he had made was that the healthcare cost of supporting trans troops in the military was too much of an economic burden for us to foot the bill for. And I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that to start with.
Simply put, that's a bunch of bullshit. I don't agree with this ban, and I don't agree with that part of the ban specifically because they've let transgender people serve all this time, and it hasn't been a problem.
Yeah.
So,
well, and primarily they reference the healthcare costs for trans people, and it's like it would be a valid concern, right? If they were like significantly more expensive than everyone else, but it's like we spend like in comparison to the overall healthcare budget for the U.S. military doesn't seem to actually match up with that description of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I disagree with like the initial premise that's put forward with the military ban, which is that it's done solely for healthcare reasons, because it seems that there's other ways of reducing healthcare costs than banning trans people from serving in the military, especially again if these are people that have served, because if you think about it, these are people that have gone through the evaluations, right? Like boot camp is not easy. So like these are perfectly capable, able-bodied soldiers that we are denying because we arbitrarily decided that their healthcare costs would be too high.
Exactly. Like I think that because I tried to join the military, I know a few friends that have also tried and they didn't get through. Mm-hmm. Because not only do you have to do the ASVAB, which gauges where you would fit as far as all the military jobs go, you've got to go and do a physical. And I'm not talking like, doctor puts on a glove and tells you to turn your head and cough and prick your finger, take some beer or take some blood, and sends it off to a lab. And
grabs you by the dick.
Yeah.
It's always my least favorite part.
We're talking like they do x-rays on your feet. They do x-rays on all of your bones and make sure that,
that you're not going to have
a broken bone, that you're not going to be a combat risk to a platoon if you ever get deployed. Mm-hmm. Like they check everything. If you got webbed feet, you get dropped. If you got flat feet, you get dropped. If you have like a spinal column that shapes like an S and then curves at the bottom and then goes back up and does some weird type of twisty-turny, they'll drop you for that too.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like, from what I'm aware, the asthma that I have could disqualify me for things like the draft. Like, they take it very seriously.
Yep, because the way they see it is, if you're in a combat situation, chances are you're going to be carrying a giant rucksack with a lot of weight. Mm-hmm. And the way they see it is that weight going to cause an asthma attack, where either you get cut off for oxygen and you end up suffocating, or are you going to be the type of risk where somebody has to protect you and they take a bullet to protect you and they end up dying? So there's a lot of factors. So I think that if somebody transgender, gay, lesbian, straight, whatever, can pass all those exams and they get cleared to join the military, let them fucking serve. I don't give a shit. Just let them serve our country.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, there's a variety of reasons why I think that this military ban is stupid. Because again, it doesn't fit with the initial premise. It also seems that the big reason that he actually did this, I heard this from somewhere, but I can't verify this, and I don't think they could verify this either. I think this is mostly speculation. But there was some speculation that this may have been to secure funding for the border wall that he wants to build.
Right.
Because apparently, the thing that he put in place to put the ban in place also helps secure funding for the wall or something. I don't fully know, but that's what I've heard on that. And that also seems like that's the worst possible thing you could do is ban transgender people, because any of the good press you get for building that border wall, which you're going to get good press from conservatives, and that's it, is going to be undermined by
press from liberals.
Yeah, you'll get bad press on liberals for the wall, and then you'll get extra bad press for the transgender ban, and you're going to get that from liberals, obviously. And when I say liberals, I do want to separate the liberals from the progressives here. But both of them will be upset for very valid reasons. And then there's going to be plenty of conservatives that'll be upset because they're like, no, these are, viable troops that you're telling us that we can't have on. These are people wanting to serve their country. There's plenty of conservatives that get that and that will be very upset by this transgender ban. And these may be people who don't agree with a lot of the transgender stuff, but they would see this kind of ban as an affront to, the office of being in military, and they might see it as disgraceful. So
right.
That said, I do know that you were mentioning that there was somebody you had spoken to about this. Figured we'd get their hot take on it.
There was a guy that I spoke to at my job, and he is ex-military, he's ex-army, and I guess he did his own research on it, and I forget the guy's name off the top of my head that he was reading that this guy had a statement about.
Yeah.
But the guy basically says, I agree with this ban that Trump is putting in place, and it's not because I'm bigoted, because I'm not, and it's not because I'm afraid of transgender, lesbian, or gays, because I'm not. I agree with it because I would see it as a major mental distraction, and the reason why I say that is because let's say you have somebody who is a male and they're unhappy with being a male, so they get caught up in the fact that they want a sex change, so they want to pay for a operation to go from a male to a female, and they lose it. Mentally they may lose it because they get that and they think that's the best way, and they end up losing their mind. At that point, they're a threat to themselves, they're a threat to others, and the platoon if they're in a combat situation.
So do you know if
this guy tried to justify it, the way that this guy tried to justify it is it's a mental condition.
Mm-hmm.
And mental conditions, as I previously stated earlier, they will drop you on that. They will say flat out, you've got a mental condition, you are not fit to serve in the military, you're a threat to yourself as well as any others in a combat situation, so we're not going to clear you.
Yeah,
so he's thinking along those lines, which I can see where he's coming from.
Yeah, I can see that too.
Extremely flawed.
Well, I think the major flaw with it is that if the person was cleared to begin with, that means that they went through the psych eval and they came out just fine. They may be transgender, but that doesn't affect their ability to serve, right? They were deemed to be not a risk, or they were deemed to be mentally healthy enough to serve. Because it is like a mental condition, but it's it's sort of a mental condition and then sort of not. It's really hard to describe, but it is a mental condition in that it can be very debilitating for somebody when they realize that they have it and that they want to make the transition. But it's like, and this is the other question that I have. Is he mentioning this for people that are pre-op or post-op?
Both. I don't know if he's doing it as both. I didn't really ask him those type of questions.
Yeah. Yeah, because like I can see the case for pre-op where it's like maybe they go through the operation and then it affects them. But I also don't think you're going through that operation during deployment. So, like, as long as the person's been cleared to serve, like, the military's like standard vetting process is already really thorough. So I wouldn't think that any extra stuff that would be levied. That said, again, like I like the idea that this person is pushing in that we want to make sure that our soldiers are the best, most qualified people. But I don't think that we have a problem with that right now. And my only concern would be is if we started saying things like, oh, well, the military needs to meet a gender quota, or because the moment you start putting quotas in there and they have to fill quotas, and so then they have to take on people that are maybe less qualified. You had the example of there was this one lady who had got brought on as a fireman somewhere, and she like wasn't able to pass any of the tests, but they let her on because they needed to meet a quota.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, and so, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if anything like that happens in regards to transgenders, where it's like they're being let on because people need to fill a quota, that's when I'll start stepping in and saying that's not okay. Like, this is like I am meritocratic in like the most strict way here. If you can't fill a position, I don't care what physical characteristics you have, right? I care about your ability to perform. And if you being transgender means that you can't perform because of your being transgender, then I'm sorry to say that we wouldn't be able to have you on. But if you can serve despite that, or if it even helps, maybe. I guess if you're female to male and you take testosterone, I'm sure that actually does help in your performance. But like, if you were able to serve to the performance standards, then you should be in, regardless of your physical characteristics. And that's like kind of my overriding principle in regards to really kind of any time you're giving somebody a position or filling positions. I think the most qualified person to fill those positions should be in them. And it kind of goes into something that I kind of want to briefly give a little bit of a story. So my father was working for a company whose name I'm not going to disclose. And I'm not going to disclose when this was because that might also give it away, but it was a company that he had worked for. And he had been asked to go and hire some people for some positions, right? And he had like a bunch of people to hire. And so he goes and finds the most qualified people that he can possibly find. And he's really diligent, really interviews the people. And so after he's interviewed and hired all these people, his boss pulls him aside and he says, well, like, you didn't need to hire the whole UN here, you know? Because my father had gone out and hired the most qualified people he could, and that just happened to be an ethnic mix. And you know, the boss evidently determined or interpreted that differently. So, but it's like I'm kind of more along my father's line of thinking in this respect, which it's like if somebody's more qualified to hold a position, I don't care what their race or skin color, or in this case, whether they're trans or not. Like, I don't care what area or where you line up on that, as long as you can serve, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, but
that also kind of ties into my personal opinion when it comes to how jobs are like, oh, you need this type of education to do this. Honestly, I don't think you need any sort of education to do any sort of job. If you can train that individual and they pick up on what they're supposed to do in the job, hire them because they can get it done. Unless you're doing like secret security type stuff.
Yeah, no, I mostly agree with you there, but I don't want doctors. Like, I think doctors and like dentists and really anybody who's doing anything that's like critical to my physical well-being, I want those people to be certified with a, like,
Yeah, that
no,
goes without saying, though.
yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm clarifying. Like, I'm mostly there with you. It's just that I absolutely want to make sure that if somebody's a doctor, that, like, normally diplomas are more like a, little piece of paper that says you get to do a job. But and I think it's normally really dumb. But
To
with
me, it's
doctors, I
more
think it's really justified.
to me, it's more just a piece of paper that's like, congratulations, you sat in a classroom and you did all your work.
Yeah, that's mostly
That's
what
what a
it is.
diploma is.
Well, like it shows like a level of discipline, but I don't know. I'm sure we'll get into the topic of education at some point because I have a lot of opinions on that. But for now, any last words you want to give on the Trump transgender military ban? Man, these
Other than
topics are a
other
mouthful.
than other than I think that his whole reasoning for why he says he wants to do it is bullshit. Not
Hmm.
really. Because I don't agree with his basis that, oh, it's going to cost us too much money in healthcare costs. And no, to me, that's just absolutely asinine bullshit.
Yeah,
And if anybody's listening to this that's in the LGBTQ, whatever the heck you want to call yourself,
I think we're gonna
nowadays,
draw the line at T
yeah,
because anything beyond that is just like unnecessary additions at this point.
yeah. So if any of our friends out there in the LGBT community are listening, I support you guys. I got a really good friend that's gay, and where I don't understand his merits for wanting to be gay, as long as you guys understand that I don't freaking,
Yeah, you don't want to take it up the rear.
that I don't want to do what you guys are doing. Attracted to the same sex, as long as you understand that I like women, then cool. We can let bygones be bygones. But if
Yeah.
you're a gay guy and you come up and hit on me, game over. I'm not gonna be cool.
Well, I think I'll be cool, like politely say no. Do you know what I mean?
Until they keep going on, and then they're like, "Oh well, no, you should really be with me," because I've
Yeah,
had that before, and I'm not cool with that.
yeah. Well, and it's like I'm sure you could get that from women, but women aren't usually so forward.
No, they're really not. And usually the ones that are that forward are ones that don't live where I live, and they're
Yeah.
clear across the world, or they're in another state, and I'm like, "You're catfishing me."
Mhm.
So
Yep. So my last words on the ban, I disagree with it on like so many levels. I think the most important aspect to which I disagree with it is the fact that it's kind of anti-meritocratic in a way, and I am like a borderline purist when it comes to meritocracy. I think that the most qualified people for a thing should be doing that thing, and so if this ban gets in the way of that, I am in disagreement with it on principle immediately. Like, I don't need to hear anything about healthcare costs because that all comes secondary to this very crucial point, which is the best, most qualified person gets the job.
exactly. I agree with Joseph here. If you're qualified enough to serve in our armed forces, there is no dollar sign, and I mean no dollar sign or dollar amount that should stop us from taking care of your health needs, whether you're a man, woman, transgender, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever gender you are, if you're serving in our armed forces, you have my support, and in fact, I think honestly you guys should get paid more for what you do.
Yeah. Well, and just as a brief aside, I think that we should also be treating our veterans better than we currently do. But
Amen.
I'm sure we'll get into that at some point too. But I think the fact that we can afford to wage wars but can't afford to pay the people that are doing the waging says a lot about where our current where our system's priorities are right now. So in conclusion, we're both in disagreement with the ban, and please, Trump, if you're listening, which is incredibly unlikely, don't go through with it or reverse it or whatever. Please.
Yeah, President Trump, if you ever do get a hold of these podcasts and you listen, um, just letting you know I'm one of your constituents. I voted for here in the state I'm at. I'm not going to say where because there's a lot of crazy fucks out there.
Mm-hmm.
But this is one of those things that I don't agree with you on.
Yeah. Well, and I, again, like I'll mention as I did before, I didn't vote for Trump, but I still support him as a president. That said, I am very much in disagreement with his decision here. I think it is a very bad decision. Now, mind you, I'm not going to start riding through the streets about this, but I will be bearing this in mind during the next election. So
I saw this weird thing on our topic list. I have no idea what it's about. Maybe Joseph can shed some light on it.
yeah.
What is this thing about a transphobic question?
Okay, so there has recently been a lot of drama about this question, and I'm going to ask you the question, and I want you to give me your unfiltered response. Okay?
Okay.
Are you ready to hear the question?
Yeah.
Okay, the question goes, are traps gay?
Are traps gay?
Yeah, are traps gay? Just to give you a little bit of context here, somebody was kicked out of a convention for asking this question.
When
Well,
somebody asks for traps gay, I think of like, fly traps, mouse traps, freaking, roach traps,
oh, so
insect traps.
do you not know what a trap is, dude?
No.
Oh, wow. You're in for a whole new world. So basically, a trap is somebody who dresses up as one gender, but who is the other. Or
Seeming kind of like drag queen.
so kind of like drag queen. The idea is with a trap is that they lure you in with the promise of one thing, and then the last second they spring onto you a different thing that you didn't ask for, right? So you hit up on this nice lady, she's very nice, and like, y'all start like dating or whatever, and then she gets you in bed, and oh, she's got a wiener, right? And so the idea with traps is that they're not, because a lot of people confuse it, and they think like, oh, well, like a trap is a trans person. It's like they're actually different things. Because the idea with the trap person can be trans. Like some traps are trans people, and some trans people are traps, right? It's more like they're a Venn diagram, and there's an intersection there, but there's plenty of traps who are not like transgender or transsexual. They're just trying to get, like there are gay people who dress up and, do this whole charade so that they can get a straight person of their same sex into bed, right? But I honestly want your opinion. Are traps gay?
Well, if I go off of the fact that, gay guys do, dress up like chicks from time to time,
Yeah?
then if I had to go off of the
Just your gut response.
description, then yeah, they're gay.
Yeah?
I mean, sorry, but yeah, they're gay.
So this is the thing with this question, is that it initially seems like so dumb, but it's actually a really interesting question to ask because there's a lot more to it than initially seems on the surface. One of the aspects of this that I find is kind of interesting is, are we asking, are traps gay, or are people that like traps gay? You know what I mean? So like, is the act of having sex with a trap gay? Right? They've lured you into bed. They pulled out their willy, and so the question is, do you do it or not? Right? And then if
That
you do
depends.
it, well, no. And so here's the thing.
You do it based on the premise that you're curious and you want to see what it's like to sleep with somebody like that, or do you do it because you already know that you're either swing both ways or you're swinging one way?
See, I
That's
don't.
way too open.
I don't think that necessarily matters though, because I would say it's gay either way, right? Because if you're agreeing to take the dick, like, you might not be gay, but the act in and of itself is gay, right?
I mean, if I got set up in a situation like that where I thought a dude was a chick and then I ended up, catching myself slipping, which I haven't yet, and I doubt I ever will. If I ever got to that point and, they pulled out the willy and they'd be like, well, you going to do it or not? I'd be like, fuck you, I'm out. I'd call an Uber and I'd get the hell out.
Yeah. See, but there are some people that wouldn't, right? There's some people that are like, oh, maybe I'll give it a shot. And then they find out that they don't like it, but it's like, it's still, doing it as gay, right?
Right.
And so, but then the other question is obviously like, are traps themselves gay? And I think the answer is sometimes. Because sometimes it's a trans person who is transgender, not transsexual. This is like, pre-op. And the idea is that they've undergone no reassignment surgery of any kind, and they're not disclosing to you the fact that they still have, the parts from their original gender, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, because they're not disclosing this, it's still like this is the thing with traps. I think it's all kind of shitty, right? Because I think there's two important things in a relationship: consent and disclosure. And I think it's important for both of those things to remain intact. And so, I think traps in that respect are kind of bad because it's like they're not disclosing anything. Hence why they're called traps, right? Because if they informed you about it, they wouldn't be a trap, right? So we're operating under the premise that this is somebody who has deliberately not informed you. And if they're deliberately not informing you because they don't think they need to, or, for whatever other reason, but they're still trans, then they're not gay. They're just trans and they're just being a bit of a dick. Pardon the pun of sorts. But basically, but you have that, and that wouldn't be gay. That's just, kind of shitty. Then you have the idea of a gay person dressing up and using this as a way to get dick, or a way to get, whichever.
Yeah. Using it as bait to get what they want.
Yeah. And so it's like, if they're using it as bait, then yes, they're absolutely gay.
Which would be the ultimate form of catfishing.
Well, and here's the thing. Like, I like how, like, some people get all offended about this, and it's like, I'm not saying being gay is a bad thing. I'm just noting that it's gay, right? Like, there's no value judgment here. I'm not saying, oh, it's gay, therefore it's bad. No, it's fine. Just, it's gay. Like, let's call a spade,
Right.
So, but I think it's a very interesting question. And so, but this leads into the controversy that this question has caused, because this question is a very popular question right now, especially in the, I briefly mentioned before Sargon of Akkad. He belongs to like this whole community of people, and they call themselves like the skeptic community. And in that circle, this question has been circulating endlessly. It's become a bit of a meme. And so this question has become such a meme at this point that somebody thought it was a good idea to go to a convention. Now, this convention is called CoxCon. I want to get out right in front of it and say COX. This is somebody's last name. It's not a gay thing.
CoxCon?
Yes. It's this guy's last name. So this is hosted by Jesse Cox. He's a gaming YouTuber. So he like plays video games and people watch him play video games. So nothing to do with being gay, just for the record. Because every time I've mentioned, oh, it's CoxCon, so everybody's like, is that a gay thing? And I'm like, no, it's not a gay thing. But basically, this guy goes to
fuckers.
No, I don't think they mean it in a bad way either. It's just that, they're like, oh, so is it about gay stuff? No, but it's just about gaming, and really even the convention itself is just about the personalities involved. Because you've got Jesse Cox, and the other important one to mention in the story is Total Biscuit. So this guy goes to this convention, right? And he thinks it is a good idea during one of the Q&A panels to ask this question. And the footage from it's like really awkward to watch because the question is not well received in, the panel. And so later, after this question was asked and everything had gone down, Total Biscuit over Twitter asked for the public to locate this person for him. After the public had located this person for Total Biscuit, he then kicked them out of the convention for asking this question. And after kicking this person out of the convention, he then turns around and donates the cost of this person's ticket to a charity to help trans homeless people. So the kind of ensuing drama was, first off, the fact that Total Biscuit led a public witch hunt, which he on Twitter denied doing. He's like, I didn't witch hunt anybody. I didn't release their name. And it's like, yeah, you didn't release their name. That's correct. But you told the public to go find this person. That's a witch hunt.
Yeah, you encouraged people to go do it because you didn't do it yourself.
Yeah, and mind you, he didn't dox this person. He's not CNN over here.
But he's encouraging motherfuckers to go do it.
Well, he's encouraging motherfuckers to go locate this person. That's not okay. That's a bad thing to do. I think that was a very poor way of approaching this.
That's very unclassy and very poor judgment.
Very unclassy, and I'm kind of surprised that they wouldn't have been able to conduct this search internally anyways without involving the public.
Mm-hmm.
But then it gets, and I think that's honestly the worst aspect of this. If he had simply kicked this person out of the convention, I would understand. I would disagree, but I'd understand. Mm-hmm. The fact that he led a public witch hunt was kind of where it crosses a line. And the fact that afterwards on Twitter, he, I want to pull this up real quick, but he gets all pretentious about it, and he's like, we dismissed somebody here. Hold on, I'm going to find it. Let's see. Total Biscuit. His Twitter feed is literally just him posting pictures of dogs and retweeting pictures of dogs. So, sorry, audience, I can't find the original tweet for you, but basically he said something along the lines of, we removed somebody from our panel for asking or for having asked the transphobic question, hence why that's the name of the topic. It's because he had stated that this question, are traps gay, is transphobic. And it's like, no, this isn't transphobic. This isn't transphobia. This is just somebody asking, what could be a genuine question. And I think this guy meant it as a bit of a meme, but it's like, no, it's a valid question. And I think it can inspire some discussion, and it can inform people, too, because this is the thing. I think it would be better for trans people if we actually talked about this stuff more, not less. And an important way to get people to talk about stuff like this is to really ask a question that allows, like this question, that allows you to get into the weeds of, well, what is the difference between a trans person and a trap? I think anybody who listened to our momentary discussion on it learned quite a bit if they were completely uninformed about it before. If they've done any moderate reading on this, I'm sure they've gleaned what I've mentioned. But for people who are completely uninitiated, I think this is actually a very valid question to ask. And I think it can really go a long way in informing people. So, but that said, I was not a fan of the fact that Total Biscuit did this, and it was really disheartening to see somebody that I did and still do look up to. I say still do because I'm understanding of the fact that he's going through some really difficult times right now. I know that we had mentioned before that Mccain was going through cancer, and Total Biscuit is also going through this not the exact same thing, because it's a different kind of cancer, but he's, again, going through this really difficult, rough time. So I'm not going to level the most harsh criticism of him and say that I've lost all respect for him or something, but it was really disheartening to see something like that from somebody that I still look up to him. I still respect the work that he does. He informed a lot about the way that I view ethics in things like journalism, because he was at the forefront of the charge during Gamergate. And, well, I say at the forefront of the charge. He never tweeted it, or never tweeted the hashtag, and then mentioned it a few times. But the fact that he leveled any support towards it was really encouraging, and it is kind of unfortunate to see somebody who, again, was so great at doing this, turning around and doing something really dumb. So, I guess the last thing to do is to send us off. So, do you have any last thoughts?
Listeners, thank you for giving us your time. I know your time's valuable, and Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. We will be recording episode 3 not next weekend, but the following weekend if plans go well. Took us a little longer with this one because, life gets in the way, but
Yeah,
yeah.
life
Enjoy
gets in the
your
way.
Yeah, exactly. Enjoy your newly uncensored versions of these shows. I think you guys will enjoy that a little bit longer. We're still working on getting our Patreon set up, so once we get that set up, we'll let you know
Yeah,
what the tiers are if you guys like
and,
what you're hearing
and the
and you want to
rewards and
see
everything.
us. And the rewards, of course. We're not just going to be like, "Oh, give us money," and we're not going to give you anything.
Yeah,
because we're not like that.
We want to offer a product with the with Patreon. We don't want it to just be like a donation box. And
Exactly.
so initially the rewards will be stuff that's very non-tangible. It'll be like bonus shows and stuff like that. So again, stay tuned to hear what we have planned. But eventually I would love to incorporate like posters or shirts. And so bear with us while we get all that set up. So, but basically, keep in touch. Stay tuned. I don't think I mentioned this in like the stock outro that I have set up right now, but our podcast also has a Twitter account. It's at Standard Soapbox. And so if we have any updates for the show or any other things that we might want to let you know about, please absolutely do follow us there. We need, if anything, even if you're not looking to keep track of all that stuff, it might help our numbers if you did subscribe to that, or if you follow the Twitter account. And then as far as being uploaded to platforms, we're currently on SoundCloud and YouTube. We will have the RSS set up at some point, probably similar time frame to the Patreon. And then the other...
Also, if you listen to these and you're like, "Oh, they swear a lot. We don't like their dirty mouths." We will, when on our free time, when we edit these out, we will make censored versions, and we will tell you where you can find those censored versions if you prefer the censored versions versus uncensored.
Yeah, because we want to cater to a nice and wide audience. So we will have uncensored and censored versions available for free. The censored versions will be on a platform somewhere. I don't know where you can find that right now. But again, if you want to know where to find that, subscribe, or not subscribe, follow us on Twitter at Standard Soapbox. Additionally, we are going to be uploading to at least one more site is the current plan. We're going to be uploading to minds.com at some point. And so if any of you guys don't like YouTube and don't like SoundCloud, you can also check us out there. And again, we'll be getting the RSS feed up and running as soon as we can. Ow. I just hit my hands with the flashlight that I was fidgeting with. Maybe I just need to get a fidget spinner.
Damn those fucking fidget spinners, man. Careful now. You might think we're going to take Russia down with those.
Yeah. But yeah, so audience, see you later. Thank you for listening to Standard Soapbox. We can be reached on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @Vingar. VINGHAR. Rob can be reached on Twitter at Snakes200. SNAKES200. Thank you for listening once again, and have a wonderful day.